Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today is pretty simple. We go through all the research so you get the insight without, the overload.
Mhm.
And today we are zeroing in on a destination that I think a lot of travelers are just now really discovering,
Yeah.
a landlocked gem in the Caucasus, Armenia. It's always described as the sort of living tapestry of ancient history.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Because the sources, they don't just define Armenia by its landscapes, which are breathtaking. They define it by its survival.
It's resilient.
Exactly. We're looking at an identity forged over 3,500 years, and it's all anchored by this one huge political decision.
Becoming the world's first Christian nation.
The very first, back in 301 AD, it changed everything.
And that history is finally starting to, break through. Lonely Planet just flagged Armenia as a top 2025 destination.
They did. And specifically for its wild eco-adventures and these incredible, almost aggressively preserved heritage sites.
Right. So our focus isn't just on the sites, but on the experience, the kinds of journeys you just can't find anywhere else.
And to do this right, we have to focus on what makes that experience so different. It's about how they handle their own history, this friction between the ancient and the modern.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So where do we start?
I think we have to start where that national identity was really forged, in the spiritual heights and maybe more importantly, the spiritual depths.
Absolutely. The foundational story begins at Khor-Virap.
Khor-Virap.
Yeah, and the name itself is just so brutally descriptive.
It means deep dungeon, right?
It literally means
Yeah.
deep dungeon. This is the crucible.
And it's not some polished museum. It's raw. To connect with it, you have to climb down this narrow 60-meter vertical ladder.
Straight down into a damp pit. And this is where St. Gregory the Illuminator, the founder of the Armenian Church, was imprisoned.
For 13 years.
13 brutal years in the 3rd century, thrown in there by King Tiridates III.
It sounds incredibly claustrophobic.
It is. But it connects you to the suffering, the endurance that came before the national conversion. We tend to forget that adopting Christianity, it wasn't just a peaceful revelation,
It was a massive political maneuver.
a geopolitical shockwave. When St. Gregory was finally released and then converted the king, Armenia became the first Christian nation, years before Rome even considered it.
That's the powerful historical anchor. But what's even more powerful, and the sources really emphasize this, is the visual release.
Oh, yeah.
You emerge from that dark, tight pit, and what do you see?
You are instantly confronted with the panorama of Mount Ararat.
The ultimate juxtaposition.
It's massive, snow-capped, always visible. And it's so symbolic, the biblical resting place of Noah's Ark. It's the geographical soul of the nation.
It's across the border in Turkey.
Tantalizingly close, but behind a sealed border, like a permanent historical scar. That tension right after climbing out of that dungeon, that's the story of Armenia in miniature.
Wow. That transition from deep dungeon to this sweeping symbolic view.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And speaking of dramatic heights, we go right from the depths of Khor-Virap to the spiritual heights of the Wings of Tatev.
This is where history fuses with modern engineering and some serious high-altitude thrills.
We're talking about the world's longest reversible cable car.
A 5.7-kilometer journey, just gliding silently over this massive gorge. It takes about 12 minutes.
It's not a detour, it's part of the pilgrimage.
Exactly. And the destination is the 9th century Tatev Monastery, a UNESCO complex.
Perched right on the edge of a 900-meter abyss. It looks impossible.
It does. But it wasn't just a spiritual fortress. The sources stress its other role. It was a massive medieval university.
Right. So enlightenment here wasn't just about devotion, it was about learning.
Philosophy, astronomy, manuscript illumination, preserving knowledge through some very tumultuous eras. You connect this to the bigger picture. These sites are like adrenaline-fueled portals to cultural continuity.
And there's more to do around there.
Oh, yeah. The sources suggest taking an eco-tour in the ARPA-protected landscape nearby. You can spot falcons, see all this incredible biodiversity.
So we've covered the Christian origins, but what really pushes your thinking, what challenges global timelines, is how far back Armenia's history goes before 301 AD.
Absolutely. It forces you to look at civilization differently.
Which brings us to our second section. We're talking deep pre-Christian past.
And it starts with the foundation of settled civilization, agriculture, and specifically wine.
Not just any wine. We're talking about the Armenian cave.
In Vyazma province, home to the world's oldest known winery.
And when you say oldest, you mean?
We're talking 4100 BC, 6,000 years of continuous viticulture. That's millennia before the classical Mediterranean regions even got started.
That's incredible. And the findings there were just amazing, Rob.
The technical detail matters here. The cave's cool, dry conditions preserve things that should have turned to dust. Intact grape presses, fermentation jars.
And the shoe.
And famously, the world's oldest leather shoe, still packed with straw. They even found pigment residue that proves they were making red wine.
So this isn't just a local legend, it's preserved science.
A perfect scientific record. And you can still taste that heritage. They grow indigenous grapes like Armenian noir, which is thought to be a direct descendant of those ancient grapes.
And they still make it the old way.
The best experience, the sources say, is tasting Armenian noir that's been aged in traditional caras.
Those are the big clay amphorae buried underground.
The exact same method from 6,000 years ago. It's not just a wine tasting. You're drinking from a time capsule. Some local vintners still even stomp the grapes by foot.
And you can take a bottle and go have a picnic nearby, right? At the Noravank Monastery.
A perfect spot. It's this spectacular 13th century monastery made of red rock tucked into the canyon. A perfect visual of history just layering on top of itself.
That cultural layering seems to be a theme. We see it most starkly, I think, in the Azat Valley.
Ah, yes. Gegard and Garni, a fascinating, powerful spiritual juxtaposition. It really highlights the tension and the integration of history.
Okay, tell me about that friction. First you have Gegard.
A 4th century UNESCO monastery.
Huh.
But the chapels and tombs, they aren't built. They are literally sculpted out of the mountain rock.
An organic wonder. And it's known for its acoustics, for the ancient chants.
The acoustics are perfect, echoing. And then you drive just 10 kilometers away and you find Garni.
Which is a fully intact pagan temple.
A pagan temple.
Yeah.
Right next to this massive rock-carved Christian monastery. How did that not get destroyed?
Garni is the only preserved Hellenistic shrine in all of Armenia, built in 77 AD, dedicated to the sun god Mir. It looks like a piece of ancient Rome just dropped into the Caucasus.
So why is it still there? The sources suggest it was purely political. It was probably used as a summer palace for the royals, which protected it from the, zealous destruction that followed the Christian conversion.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Even though Armenia has been officially Christian for 17 centuries, they still hold neo-pagan festivals at Garni.
Actively. They celebrate Vardavar, this water dowsing festival. It was originally a pagan rite of purification and fire worship, and they do it right there at the temple.
That points to a profound cultural survival mechanism, doesn't it?
It does. The new faith absorbed the old traditions instead of just wiping them out. The heritage is just too deep.
And below the temple, there's a natural wonder, too.
The Symphony of Stones. Incredible hexagonal basalt columns from a volcanic lava flow. It looks like a giant organ built by nature. The whole valley is a textbook.
But if you want to push the timeline back even further than wine, further than Hellenistic temples, you have to go to Zoratz-Kharar.
The Armenian Stonehenge.
We're heading into the mysterious high plains of Sinunnik province now.
And this site is so compelling because it just challenges our whole timeline of structured human organization.
It's a 7,500-year-old circle of 223 huge stones, megaliths.
To put that in perspective for you, it predates the construction of Stonehenge by millennia.
So what were they doing with all those rocks? A lot of them have these precisely drilled holes in them.
Well, this is where the sources diverge, and that's the real insight. Some academics, based on measurements, suggest it was an ancient observatory, a solar calendar.
Using the holes to track stars?
To track specific stellar alignments, yeah. But others argue it was mainly a complex Bronze Age burial ground for, high-ranking people, and the alignments are just a coincidence.
So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but the age 7,500 years, that alone confirms a high level of social organization way back in the Neolithic period.
You're literally standing under stars that have watched human civilization evolve for eons. The sources also mention checking out the nearby Bronze Age walls at Metsamor for more context on ancient forts.
It's a spectacular segue. After setting up this incredible historical depth, let's pivot to our third section.
Let's do it. We're talking unique cultural art, the pulse of modern life in Yerevan, and just the sheer breadth of natural adventures.
We have to start on the shores of Lake Savan. It's one of the highest large freshwater lakes on Earth.
And there you'll find the Norada Cemetery.
Home to the world's largest open-air Khachkar gallery.
A Khachkar is a cross stone. It's a signature Armenian art form. But these aren't just simple crosses, they are medieval masterpieces.
Over 900 of them. Unique carved stones dating from the 10th to the 17th centuries.
What makes them so moving is the detail. They were like medieval biographies in stone. Each one is an open-air museum.
They show everything, don't they? From complex biblical scenes to very specific moments of medieval life.
You see knights hunting, vintners at the harvest, wedding records, family crests. It's history etched in stone, telling you about the daily lives of people 1,000 years ago.
It's a beautiful, kind of melancholic place.
It really emphasizes that cultural continuity. Now let's jump to the capital, Yerevan.
The Pink City.
Because of all the buildings made from that rose-colored volcanic stone, this is the heart of contemporary Armenian life.
The sources all talk about the atmosphere, the smell of coffee, and fresh bread everywhere. Food is key.
Specifically lavash.
Yeah.
That paper-thin flatbread. It's actually a UNESCO intangible heritage item.
Because it's so central to social gatherings.
And learning to bake it is a ritual you have to do.
Right.
You slap the dough against the scorching hot walls of a traditional underground clay oven, a tonnier.
The heat, the smell, the communal effort, it turns a simple meal into an event.
And that communal spirit really comes alive at the Cascade Complex.
This monumental limestone staircase from the Soviet era, it's filled with modern sculptures and these old Soviet escalators.
But on the last Friday of every month, it completely transforms.
Into a massive, free, outdoor dance party.
Locals teach anyone who shows up the traditional Kuchari circle dances. Shoulder to shoulder, different generations, everyone together. It's the perfect blend of folk heritage, Soviet architecture, and modern joy.
That communal joy is infectious. But Armenia is just as defined by its raw outdoor adventure.
They leverage that rugged terrain perfectly. If you want real adrenaline, you go canyoning at Devil's Bridge.
Satanic emerge.
In scenic Svorotin River Gorge. It's not a maintained path. It's a natural basalt arch. And you rappel down this 500-meter chasm with stalactites and warm mineral springs.
The name hints at the folklore. They say the devil built it to trap souls.
For something a bit gentler, but just as fascinating, you can explore Khanzaresk nearby.
The troglodyte cave village. People lived in homes carved out of the rock until the 1950s.
Or if you prefer emerald forests, you have Diligen National Park.
Armenian Switzerland.
It's a huge UNESCO biosphere reserve. Lush forests, often cloaked in mist, hiding ancient monasteries like Goshevank and Hagartsen. It's a hiker's paradise.
Wild walnut groves, native herbs everywhere. But if you need a rush, you can get that too, right?
Oh, yeah. There's intense zip lining at Yell Extreme Park. It shows that 1,000-year-old chance and high-speed ecotourism can coexist just fine.
And finally, there's the raw Caucasus experience in Lori province.
This is for the really dedicated adventurer. Hiking the rugged Debed canyons to monasteries like Kober and the UNESCO sites at Sanahin. The sources call this region unpolished and dramatic.
And after that, you can head to Gyumri, the second city.
Explore the 19th century Russian Black Fortress there. It's been repurposed, and now it hosts indie cafes and art installations, military history, and modern creativity side by side.
So what does this all mean? We've covered, what, 7,500 years of astronomical mystery, 6,000 years of wine, the intensity of their faith, rock-carved art, modern dance parties. The core appeal from every source we looked at is this unpolished authenticity and this deep, deep hospitality.
It's the resilience forged in those highlands. You hear so many stories of tourists being welcomed in by locals to share a homemade ogi or cognac.
And practically speaking, it's ready for explorers. Easy e-visas for most people, and it's incredibly affordable. Tours starting around $50 a day.
The knowledge we've gained today, it really reveals a culture that is spectacularly integrated. It's not fractured by its history.
That has to be the most important insight to carry forward.
It is. Armenia's ability to weave these vast, seemingly contradictory layers, from Zoroastria's mysteries through pagan worship at Garni to the enduring power of its Christian identity. It weaves it all into one unified, resilient story. It's unparalleled.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. How does a nation define itself to the world as the very first Christian state, while simultaneously maintaining such powerful, active pagan echoes, even using a pagan structure like Garni as a national symbol?
Right. What does the successful integration of that spiritual friction tell you about the ultimate strength of a culture?
It shows that survival means adopting your past, not erasing it. Resilience etched in stone.